Hi everybody, welcome back to the Desmo Works channel, and we're back on with the Ducati ST2 build. So I think we're into the last few videos. I think, as far as I'm aware, there's about 3 videos left here. So there'll be today's, where I'll just tell you what I'm going to cover in a second. I've got one more video where I'm going to be putting the new brake lines on and the clutch hose and bleeding all of that, and I'll also top up the oil and we'll go for the first start. And then I've got one video left to do the bodywork, so I'm going to be painting the bodywork myself, and we've got a session booked at a local paint shop for December the 13th or 14th. So there's going to be a gap between the second video after this, the penultimate video, and then getting the bodywork done. So unfortunately a little bit of a wait. So what have we got in for today's video? You can see I've got the rear wheel out and it's up there. That's because I've got all of the brake discs. So first off, I'm probably going to be installing the rear disc, and then the last piece that we didn't do when we fitted the tyres in one of the previous videos is we haven't balanced the wheel. So once I've got the disc on, that's its full rotating mass, and I'm going to go ahead and balance this wheel. I'll also be doing the same with the front wheel. So the discs are here, so we'll be taking the front wheel out, fitting the discs, and then balancing the front wheel. I'm then going to be fitting the exhaust. I've got one on over there at the moment. That's because it's put as a test fit. You'll also notice that I've got the old shock in. That's because I'm going to send the O-rings away to get refurbished. And also, since the last video, the replacement oil breather line to the airbox has turned up, so I just stuck that on quickly. Literally as a Jubilee clip on the breather box, and then just pushes into the back of the airbox there, and then goes in this channel here. And I also got a rear reservoir holder for the O-ring setup, and that's because I've got an integrated reservoir body on my rear shock currently, which the O-rings doesn't have. So that means I've now got a factory fit for the O-rings rear shock reservoir. I'm also going to be fitting the gear selector rear set. That's been cleaned up and serviced off camera. So all I've done on that is I've just disassembled everything, greased up the bearings inside there, retorqued it down, taken the mechanism apart, cleaned the spring up, and again greased all that down, so it's all good to go. I've got a new throttle cable to go on the bike as well, which we'll also do in this video. So I'll then get the chain fitted, and then also put on this final left hand side silencer, which I've cleaned up at the bottom off camera as well. So I did this little bit here was a little bit rusty where it sits in the sort of throw everything, so that's just been cleaned up just to tidy it up a little bit. Okay, so a few jobs to get on with today. So let's go for the first one, which is let's get the rear disc on the rear wheel and let's get that wheel balanced. Okay, first job is to fit the rear disc. So I've gone for a wavy rear disc by Revo, so not used these guys before. What I need to do first is just where it's been in packaging is just get rid of the packaging grease that sits on there, and then it's just a case of 6 bolts with blue Loctite done up to 25 Newton meters. Okay, one rear disc fitted. What I'll do now is I'll just get this ready to balance, so I'll get my balancing set up. Okay, so here's my ABBA bike stand balancer. So I've got 2 different types of spindles. I've got one for a single sided arm and this one for a conventional wheel type with different size cones for the different size spindles that go through. So all I need to do is put this into the rear wheel and then get it mounted on the balancer. So let's do that. Okay, you'll notice that I just had to take off the rear sprocket carrier. That's because it doesn't fit between centres with that sprocket carrier in place, which is a bit frustrating because I wanted to balance it as an entire rotating assembly, but it shouldn't make too much difference, he hopes. Okay, so as with anything for wheels, what you want to do is find the heavy spot, and you want to put your weight on the opposite side of the heavy spot until you get to a point where wherever the heavy spot is, you should be able to move it to a position and not have it move. So you'll notice is just, so a quick way to work out, you can just let it spin and naturally slow down. So eventually it will slow down and it will look to find equilibrium. So it will put the heavy spot down to the bottom and then it will stop moving. And you can see actually it's quite heavy because it's gathering speed as it races to the bottom. So if you know roughly where it is, and I think it's somewhere around here. There you go, that is still moving. Got to let it come to a natural rest. Right, so this point here is our heavy spot on our wheel and tyre combination. So what we need to do is put weight up at the other end so that we can balance the wheel. And once we get that right, we should be able to move the heavy spot to 90 degrees and not have it move. It's the easiest way to work out if you've got it balanced. Or you should just be able to spin the wheel and it will just find a different position to rest at each time if you've got it perfect. You're always going to get a slight little bit of imbalance, but you should be able to get to as close to perfection as possible. So I've got this 75, usually I have a piece of chalk, but I've just noticed my chalk has gone missing. So normally I'd mark the high spot down here and just do an opposite piece. So what you do, grab some weights, and these are adhesive backed, so while you're just trying to work out where the weight is and how much you need to put on, just half it and just loosely press the weight in. Alright, now what you can do, so that's 10 grams, you can just put it there and you see it's wanting to return back to its heavy spot, so we should let that settle again. Hopefully this will be at the bottom still, so it'll still be the heavy spot. Okay, so this is back at the base again. So we didn't put enough weight on in the first instance, and judging by how quickly that moved, I'm going to add another 10. Right, and we've reached equilibrium there. So there's the heavy spot as it was. So we'll just hold that there and let go. Wheel stays stationary. Move it round again. Wheel staying stationary. Back round to where the heavy spot was. Stationary. And then back to the 90 degrees. Stationary. So that is that wheel balanced. Quite a lot of weight. So what I'm going to do is cut some fresh blocks up and just put 5 on each side of the rim. What I might do is just see if I can get some slightly bigger weights, because I used to have blocks of 10s like this, but I've run out of those ones, so I've only got these little 5 gram ones, which just will add up. So you notice I've got the weights beside the, almost beside the tyre valve, which actually means the heavy part of the tyre was dead opposite. So we should have really had it around this side, and hopefully we'd have made a better position. If I position that now, stay stationary. That was our heavy spot, if you remember. And just move it to where the tyre valve is. Stay stationary. Move it again, another sort of 45 degrees. There you go. Totally stationary. So that wheel is now balanced. Let me just stick that back on the bike then. Okay, so rear wheel is back in. What I'm going to do now before proceeding to do the front wheel is I'm just going to finish this back end. So we'll get the chain on next, then I'll put on the last rear set and then the exhaust for this side of the bike, and then we're sort of done down the back end on this side of the bike, and then I'll move on to doing the front wheel discs and balancing. Okay, let's get the chain out of its packet. Okay, so we got a 525 X-Seal chain. What I'm going to do is just offer it up onto the rear sprocket, work it through, and then we'll get the join just down underneath the swing arm here. So let's do that. Okay, we're roughly there, so should be able to move that round so we can make a join now. Yeah. Okay, so the chain's roughly in position. Just going to get the split link, apply a bit of grease, mucky stage. Right, place this into the chain. There we go. Seals on this side. And then the new plate. Which doesn't want to start. Alright, there we go. Right, getting the tool. Chain tool on this side. We're just going to compress this plate at the moment. Okay, so that's the top plate of the split link in. I couldn't get this to sit level, so I tend to just do it that way. Alright, you get a bit of a mark in your plate, but it never really bothers me. Okay, what we need to do now is compress down the soft links. So we're going to rivet down the heads here. You need that to deform by about 0.2 more of a millimetre from where it is now. So if we just measure that up, got 5.2, just below 5.2, so 5.18. So if we take these to about 5.4 or 5.45, we know we've got enough deformation in those soft link rivets to be able to hold it in place. So you'll see that the riveter has got like a domed head in it, and that will sit into that soft link, which has got like a little recess in it, and just push the outer wall out. So that, just put a spring on that, stick it in, get the tool, and it just becomes a game of brute force and ignorance. So just make sure that you pull it back so it's recessed in the tool there. Make sure you have the anvil on the back of the tool, otherwise you'll just push that soft link through. Just nip that up. Doesn't need to be too tight. And then we just compress that head. Then release. And check out how well we've gone down. 5.67, so actually overdone it slightly. So slight nip. Don't need much force on this, as you can see. Undo. Oh. Undo it. .4. Just do a little touch more on that one. Oh, pressed it into inches. 5.5, so just slightly over. And then just check that the link is free to move with the rest of the chain, and we're good. That's the chain fitted. Just needs adjusting, which I'll do shortly. Okay, so the chain's adjusted to give us roughly 20 millimeters of deflection. What I'm going to do is just tighten that up now, and we're done on the rear wheel. Okay, another job off the list. We have the chain fitted. What I'm going to do now is fit this left-hand rear set that gives us our gear change mechanism. So let's just grab that. Footrest on. I still need to get a new rubber for this. I'll have to hunt out a second-hand footrest to change that over. Gear lever position, I'm not going to fully tighten that up at the moment because I'll just wait till I can sit on the bike and work out if that's in a comfortable position, but we're pretty much there. Okay, last job that I want to do on this side of the bike is get the exhaust silencer fitted in, so let's just grab that and offer that up and tighten it in. Okay, there's a retaining spring that we need to put on, which will go on one of the silencers, just through there. And we'll grab it, pull it through to here. And that just holds the silencers in place. So that left-hand rear side now is all bar complete apart from bodywork and panniers. What I need to do is get the front end of the bike up onto a paddock stand so we can get the front wheel out and get the discs fitted and the wheel balanced. So let's do that quickly. Okay, front wheel's out. One of the new discs is just laid on there now. What I'm going to do is same as with the rear disc, put some medium strength thread locking compound onto the bolts that are going to go in there, and then get those tightened down, and they're 26 Newton meters again. Let's do that. So we've got the discs on. What we're going to just do is now find the heavy spot. I'm just giving it a bit of a free spin for a while I drink a coffee. Right, let's just slow it down a bit. Let it find its natural there's quite a bit of weight there again. Looking at the speed that that's going, I think it's going to be somewhere around here. There we go. So almost in the same marking position. It's got the W mark, so it's just about an inch past the W mark, but not opposite to the valve this time. Actually, it's in quite an awkward space, so we're going to have to go on the very outside of the spoke only. Okay. There you go, I look to have got that one straight away. So I've got 10 on each side of the wheel. So what I'm going to just do is just put some fresh ones on and just get them pressed in nice and tight, and we're done there. Okay, that's the front wheel balanced. What I'm going to just do is quickly pop that back in the bike, and then we'll get on to the next job. Okay, front wheel is back in. Just to be clear, 63 Newton meters for the nut on the spindle and 26 Newton meters for the fork pinch bolts, which there's 2 on each fork leg. Next job is to fit the new throttle cable. Right, so I've just taken the cover off the throttle body. What we need to do is put the new throttle cable into the end of the throttle body, and that will come round and we'll just link up. So this piece will effectively go in like so, but obviously after it's been fed through the actual throttle body. You then have to feed the cable down through this retaining bracket, down and cross in the frame, and then we're going to be connecting it into this bracket just here, and then onto the throttle actuating arm or cam, whichever you want to call it, and that's where this end of the cable will go to. Okay, because of where it sits and where I am at the moment, I don't have a good angle to film that on, so I'm just going to fit this off camera and I'll show you once it's done. Okay, so throttle cable's fitted, snaps and returns okay, and then what I've just checked on here is I backed it right off, so backed it right in there initially on the adjuster so that I knew that I had play before the throttle moved. So if you see that, the cable takes up the slack before engaging the cam, so it gives me a slight movement on the throttle before it actually does anything. But that's that done. I'm just going to lock this nut off here and I'll just tighten this, there we go, tighten that adjuster there, and that's the new throttle cable on. Just off camera, what I've also done is reconnected the choke cable, which goes down to this lower bracket but follows the same route up through the bike and then round to the front piece there. Okay, one more little job whilst we're on this side. I need to connect on the main engine earth lead, so let me just grab that and we will put that on. Okay, so I've just loosely put it in there before I tighten it up, but you've got the lead that goes onto the back of the engine. It then routes round the back, across the top of the clutch cover. So I will, when I get the brake connection in there, all this lot will be tie wrapped back up on that chassis piece there, and then it's connected loosely at the moment onto the battery negative terminal, and it's only loose at the moment because I need to work out where I position this once I've got everything ready to go connected. Right, let me just tighten up this bolt just here. Okay, I think I'm going to call this video a wrap there. Plenty of progress being made, lots of little jobs. We're into the final few bits of getting this bike finished. So the next video should be calipers front and rear on with the master cylinders, new brake lines front and rear, new clutch line, and then bleed all of that out. We'll stick some oil in. I'll also order the instantaneous connection so I've got a decent split in the fuel line, and then what I might try and do is just power the bike up and see if we can get a start out of it. I do need to find the left hand switch gear. I think I've got some spares up in my loft and my garage amongst my Ducati stockpile, because the switch gear that was on the bike was all seized and wasn't working properly, so we'll replace that as we're doing it. So another load of work done. It's looking good. I'm happy with that. If you enjoyed this video, chuck us a like. Any questions or comments, please stick them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, because there's plenty more content to be coming soon. Cheers for watching. See you later. Bye.